Okay, welcome to Weldon's Weekly, week 4. So I'm doing this obviously on Twitch here, and I don't have a cam because I'm at home right now. And if you hear baby noise, it's actually the baby. So also you can at me in Twitch chat and then hop into my Discord here and get in the holding channel. And then if your question's good, interesting, the topic or whatever, if you want to chime in, I'll pull you into the main streaming Discord. And as you can see, we already did the warm-up game, Teamfight Tactics, you can see in the background there, and a little bit of Q&A with chit-chat. Now we're going to jump into the Weldon's Weekly. So, first of all, our goals for the week. We had 3 main goals. First one was to manage burnout. Second one was to train according to what we were going to be playing on the weekend. And the third one was to keep up with the 3 or 4 little in-game things that we were doing super well the week before, that we were trying to improve on those in this week. So the first one, manage burnout, we did well. The last one, we did very well. We actually improved across the board on all the stuff that we were aiming to improve on for the previous week that we were excelling on. We pushed across all those. And the second one, we nailed it with FlyQuest and we failed it with C9. Although we were training for C9, but C9 got more data on us on Saturday, so it changed what we were training for C9, obviously then, which means that we didn't train for them at all. So let me go through the games for the week. Academy won their first game, which was not their first game, but their first game in a while, which was fantastic. And then had a very hard-fought next game versus a very good team. So kudos to them. Pretty nice week overall, even though it feels bad to lose the second game of the week always. And then let's jump into our game. So the first game we played was versus FlyQuest. Here's the draft. So we banned Sona, obviously, and then we banned Yuumi, they banned Sejuani, so they gave us the first pick Lux. And then they went Tahm Kench Aurelia with no Sejuani on the board, so Aurelia, we can play really well into her without Sejuani. We have a number of picks prepared, and we can also play her, although obviously she's a lot better with Sejuani. And we opted to pick Renekton Sivir, and to kind of go Renekton against Aurelia there. They went with Skarner, we banned Azir Ezreal, they banned Olaf Elise, and then they went, whoops, we didn't ban Trundle, and we have to pick some sort of mobile AD carry, because if we pick a immovable AD carry, then they can pick Trundle, and then of course we picked Trundle anyway. And then we picked Victor as a blind after banning Azir, and then they last picked Nico to counter Renekton or Trundle, or Victor, I guess. I'm not really sure which. Then in the game, we matched the Renekton to the Aurelia. Ruin got to play his first mid-game of the season, did really well there. And even though we messed up a couple fights, it kind of didn't matter because we literally assembled Exodia against them, and their comp was not very good, unfortunately for them. So, yeah, then the game was over. Moving to C9. So they first banned Sivir, just whatever. We banned Sona, obviously. Then they banned Renekton, which is, I guess, the data they got here, right? So this was where the coaching staff, screwed up. And so we should have obviously, left up maybe Yasuo or Karma or something and banned probably Sejuani or Aurelia, because, this was the pick that we were planning on playing against it, which was obviously revealed here. And then they banned Yuumi, we banned Yasuo, so they couldn't go Yasuo Gragas or Yasuo Sejuani. And they picked Sejuani, and then we were like, oh, sorry team. We probably at this point should not have picked Trundle so early. I'm not sure, or Trundle, and maybe we just do something else. Anyway, at this point, we're trying to salvage because we can't take Aurelia. You know, there's a lot of people who were like, well, why didn't you, as soon as they picked Sejuani, why didn't you pick Aurelia? Power of Evil doesn't play Aurelia, blah, blah, blah. All this stupid stuff. First of all, we can play Aurelia mid and top. Secondly, and we train it. Secondly, you if you pick Aurelia and let it get countered and they have Sejuani plus the counter, then they win. It's the Sejuani that swings the Aurelia matchup. It's not the Aurelia that swings the Aurelia matchup. So we already screwed up here. So it was already the coach's fault here. So after this, we're trying to salvage for the players. So we need to get a comp that has a really good win condition. We screwed up a couple more times, as you'll see. So they pick Aurelia Braum. We pick Ezreal because we're like, okay, well, Tom Ezreal into Braum. We don't want them to pick as Braum. And we can ban an AD carry. We probably shouldn't have picked... Well, we probably shouldn't have picked Tom here. We probably should have picked like Zaya and then Rakan or something. But anyway, Tom, and then we went with Ezreal, and so then we banned Varus, and then we were planning on picking top lane here. I want to explain the Orianna pick, because people are wondering like, oh, like why did we pick Orianna? So I need to explain, first of all, Orianna, like Power of Evil is a world-class Orianna player. He can play Orianna in 2 matchups and in games that normal humans can't. He can solo kill Faker with Orianna. He can win Sylas with Orianna. He can win Aurelia with Orianna in 2 scrimmages, one in Korea and one in North America. He won lane against Orianna, against Aurelia Rek'Sai, and against Aurelia Sejuani, and he had silent pressure against her. So he can do all these things with Orianna, and most importantly, what he can do is when the coaches say, oh crap, draft is tanked, we need to last pick top, we screwed up 2 times already, Reapered is running circles around us, Tristan, can you save us with a blind pick? He can pick Orianna, and he can like pretty much like have a chance at winning the game for us, and otherwise just do fine and not like solo lose the game with a blind pick that's counterable, because his Orianna is not that counterable at all. So he grabs Ori blind into nothing, right? Because Aurelia's flex, and he can be countered by anything. And then they get to basically pick the Akali flex, which probably we should have banned, I guess, and the Kai'Sa, which is a great dive buddy with Braum, with like all of this dive, but like as you can see in the game, just basically like lost lane fine, and then auto attacked a couple times in a team fight is basically almost irrelevant compared to the rest of their Exodia comp. And then we counterpicked the Akali with a losing scaling lane because we'd already screwed up draft so much that this was like our only chance was to go full anti-dive, try to use the as Tom lane to get a little bit of pressure into the Ori lane, hope that the Ori Trundle fights go decently well, and try to group on them, use the Tom to like aggressively group before, so we have an outnumbered mid scenario, and then like the Gangplank ulti comes in from as like a half a champion from the other side, right? So that's like basically we ended the draft 60-40 in favor of C9. They got a very good draft, we got a very bad one, so they got like what, a 10% advantage, I would say. They have to play average, we have to play really well, and obviously the team was pretty aware of that, and they were doing the best that they could to salvage what we'd already screwed up kind of here, I guess. So that's the logic for the Orianna pick, and I want to show you some of the other ones as well, so you guys like get this weird idea. Oh, right, so I got to show you this. I need to address this because that's why this kind of thing is really triggering to see, is like these vitriolic fan posts where these people are coming in and saying like, hey, like, okay, this was really a lot nastier before he edited it, but basically he's just like trashing Tristan and saying like, what is this crap, like pay Ruin to ban it or whatever. This stuff is not accurate and not useful. It's completely irrelevant to the reason that we pick Orianna, which most of the time, by the way, if you look at his scoreline with Orianna, like it's not that great, I think, or something. There's somebody had the record here somewhere. The point is, a lot of times when we're picking Orianna, we're trying to salvage a losing draft situation already, and we're picking a champion that he's so good at that he can like play it into these like tragic situations and still give us a fighting chance. But this vitriolic fan attitude towards his Orianna is dumb. It should be more like Froggen, where like he picks some random champion that he's so good at that he can win matchups he should lose, and the fandom is like, oh, this guy's so good at these cool champs, so glad we can randomly pick them and like win games that we shouldn't otherwise win because we lost the draft, that we weren't prepared for, because Reapered is an insane drafter and their team stylistically like does really well into ours. So what I would like to see from fans who want to understand this and put this in the right context is like, oh, look, we have one of the best mage players in the world. And although we're working up all these other picks in draft, most of the time teams screw up draft and give us an easy mage counter, which is why we end up running an easy mage counter when people hand us a winning mage lane with a scaling mage. Like, obviously we're going to pick it, right? Right? Like, yes, of course, we can play Aurelia or Kali or some melee mage, but when the opposing coach screws up, or the opposing team screws up, gives us a counter-picked mage lane that wins the push after a couple levels, counters them in team fights, and wins them in side lane, we're going to pick the scaling mage matchup that does that, right? I mean, that would be dumb not to, because it just wins the game. That doesn't mean we're spamming them every single scrimmage. We're prepared for the situation where the enemy coach does not do that, and we have to play like the actual champion, but like, luckily the coaches are messing up draft a lot. Reaper, one of the biggest exceptions to that. He doesn't, not only does he not mess up draft, he like schooled us. Well, okay, he messes up draft actually, but he did school us this one. They had a lot of data, and they just fit really well against our team. So, just like for context, like let's look at our other Ori picks, right? So, okay. So here we're playing blue side, which means they get to last pick mid. So, we ban Irelia, and they ban Silas Rise Aatrox. This is the previous patch, so we ban basically 4 OPs of the 5. We leave up the last OP. There's 2 OPs up, so we leave one up and we let them ban one. So they messed up, like super hardcore here. Like they left up 2 OPs. They left up Yumi and Aatrox. So we left them both up. We get the first pick one, and they were like, oh no, you can't have Aatrox. So they gave us an OP. Okay, so they screwed up, right? Zaya Jarvan, okay. Then for some reason we get to counterpick their AD showing, and we get to like counterpick their jungler, okay. Then they show support. They have to pick Rakan here. Okay, so now we want to pick like Irelia, which we already banned, but we didn't know we were going to get like a free Sejuani. Or we want to pick we have to like pick something that like, we don't even know yet. We're going to look at their pick here, right? But we have to prep for something. So we ban Jace Vlad, which are some top blinds that are really good. They ban LeBlanc, which is weird. I don't know why they ban LeBlanc, because they kind of want to pick LeBlanc here, right? Or like we can pick LeBlanc, but then it's pretty easy to counter here. So I don't know why they ban LeBlanc. I guess they ban Nico because we can flex it. So we basically lost the flex, right? So Nico is like a flex pick that we can go mid-top. So we could pick 2 flex picks here. But we already banned Aurelia because we figured we're going to pick an OP and then they're going to pick Aurelia Sejuani here, right? If we pick something that's even more OP than Aurelia, because there's a bunch of stuff that's more OP than Aurelia in this patch. This is a previous patch, by the way. And so all our flexes are gone. Aurelia's gone, Nico's gone, Silas is gone, Aatrox is gone, Akali is gone. Because we didn't want to let them go like flexes are really good on blue, but they're also like even better on red because you can pick 1 flex here or here, and then you can carry it through to here. And you can like leave your jungle open and do all sorts of weird stuff. So we didn't want them to be able to pick Aurelia Sejuani or like a flex right here in response to an OP. So we had to see their OP bans first. So maybe we could have last banned Akali and second banned whatever, but we didn't know they were going to ban Ryze here. So anyway, it's hard. So they pick Rumble, which gives us a free counter for top. So then we need to pick a blind mid laner. Because we don't want to flex into Rumble. We already know Rumble's picked. So we don't want to pick like 2 flexes. We just want to counterpick Rumble and blind something. We're like, oops, sorry. You can't really blind Syndra because Syndra's super counterable, I guess. Right? I don't know. I don't know what the logic is. But there's only a couple mages you can pick that don't like open you up to like being countered hard. And Orianna and Azir and some of these champs only need one single champion banned to be like 50-50 lane or better and like not losing the game. And given all of these bans, and Azir is one of them, and Ori's one of them, and Syndra's not one of them, needs like more bans, I guess. So yeah, we end up with Ori. He takes the sacrifice for the team basically, and like goes on this blind pick 4-pick mage, giving us the ability to pick Sivir before it's banned, because obviously they would ban Sivir if we let it go to second phase, you know, and we take the Sejuani because we don't, it's like we want to hide our mid pick and don't let it get countered too badly, so that they get 2 counters on red side. If we pick it here before we ban, like before they ban Nico, then they get to basically counterpick. Yeah, anyway, so that's the first Orianna, which by the way, he's good at, so he schooled them. I wish I had the stats for this game. Scoreboards. Day 1. Yeah, 1 death, 7 kill participation. I wish we could see the stats, damage done and stuff. I have it somewhere, but not here. Anyway, oh, maybe it's on like Games of Legends? Games of Legends. Tournaments. LCS, summer 2019. There's no NALCS anymore, guys, remember? Okay, so damage distribution, mid. Tied with support. Who did we have as support? Holy cow. Oh, Yumi, right, okay. This is why Yumi is banned, by the way, guys. Are you kidding? Wow. Okay, anyway. Outdamaged Kennen. Doubled their mid and damage. Okay. So, second Orianna pick would be this one. Okay, let's look at this draft. I remember this horrible draft where coaches screwed up again. We've screwed up 3 times this season. This one versus the CLG game was, versus TSM was one of the bigger ones, along with today's C9. Okay, so we ban Aatrox, Sejuani, Aurelia, because we don't want them to first pick Sejuani and then get Aurelia here, because then we can't pick. I explained before, like if they pick Sejuani, we can't pick the Aurelia side, because then they can just counterpick the Aurelia with a melee champ and like they get the Sejuani. So if they first pick Aurelia, we can take Sejuani in the melee, but we hadn't necessarily worked that up for that patch like we have now. So we were just banning the Aurelia. And then they banned Yumi, Sylas, so they first picked Taric, so then we're like, whoops. So we pivot immediately. We're like, okay, well, good. They showed us they're doing Taric right away. So this is the comp that we built to beat Sona Taric. Varus Syra, like, crushes them in lane and kills them nonstop. And then we pick, like, a blind top damage dealer. It can be literally anything. It can be Aatrox, it can be Aurelia, it can be Sylas, it can be AD Nico, it can be Akali, like, it can be Jace if we set it up. But we have to set up Jace with bans, obviously. So anyway, we go with Rumble, blind, which is something we practiced. to like AoE down this comp. Hecarim's also really vulnerable. We want the push. Basically, we want 3 pushing. We want to 100% get the push in every single lane, no matter what. So we draft Blind Rumble so that we can like invade them nonstop, take their camps, whatever, like just pressure them all the time, get TP timers nonstop for bot dives, etc. And we should have banned Zilean instead of Yasuo. We banned Yasuo because in Korea they were just like Sonateric Yasuo was like the pick. We didn't know what TSM had been working up because we hadn't scrimmed them. We hadn't scrimmed any Sonaterics in NA really, just one team, and they had never played the Yasuo. But in Korea, like there were multiple teams running Yasuo and just like going nuts with it with Sonateric. So like it's terrifying. So we banned Yasuo, but we probably should have banned Zilean, obviously, because they were buffing the Hecarim. Turns out, they didn't care about the mid laner. So they went with Jace, Zilean. Maybe they would go with Zilean. I don't know. Anyway, and then we counterpicked Zilean with Orianna because, like, it's a nasty counterpick. He can't play the lane. I'll show you. Well, you can't really see it without looking at the game, but basically this guy is under turret until Hecarim kills Orianna twice, and he can't do anything the entire game, and Orianna dives and invades bot jungle and dives bot like multiple times. I think maybe once or twice. Anyway, this is where we end up at 20 minutes, is with a 3k gold advantage. So this is basically what you're supposed to do, and then we just needed to engage after that. But unfortunately they had Zilean, so our engage was pretty nullified. And so after 20 minutes, we had the proper advantage that we should have gotten from our draft, and that we just didn't close it out. So that was tragic, and we should have banned Zilean. So that was a coach mistake. But they revealed the Zilean, and that's how you counter Zilean. You don't counter him with an assassin. You counter him with a pushing champ that can like push nonstop and chunk him out of lane and kill him and speed up your immobile AD carry so that they can like run around in fights and provide a ton of AoE damage. So there you go. And it doesn't need to scale. Like, you can just like instant buy damage, which is Ori. Ori's like a dueling mage in Tristan's hands. Okay, so here we run Victor. Wait, this is week 2. CLG vs Stale. Oh yeah, here is like the worst draft ever for Team Liquid, by the way. Thank you for that free win. This one was pretty straightforward. We should have won it, but we didn't. Their Silas got outscaled pretty rapidly, but then like just didn't play around it. Here we end up with a Syndra against the Rise, which is a pretty straightforward matchup. And no Ori here, I don't think either. Another free Victor counter into a, like literally they picked an eco mid, and then we were just like, okay, well we'll just draft a lane that literally beats Nico the entire game, and also outscales her by like 12 minutes. So they had a 12-minute window. They had like 4 waves where Nico could do something, and then after that, Victor had already outscaled her and was out pushing her. It's a pretty tragic draft from GGS, unfortunately. There was like no way they were ever going to win this game. We had, so this is the funny part of this draft, was they drafted Draven. But we already had Lux. And then they drafted, and then so we picked Ezreal, and they picked Nautilus. So they had Draven Nautilus, and we had Ezreal Lux, but we didn't leash, and so we actually won the push. So we actually had the push for they had the push for like 4 waves of the first 8 minutes of the game. So we actually got a pushing lane that outscaled him. So that was like that was actually just Ray being really smart and them being really bad and like leeching their jungle so they couldn't play their matchup. And then we went with Victor Nico, who like doesn't even have to really buy items to outscale Nico by like 8 minutes, 12 minutes in the game. So that was just like, okay, Nico's gonna have like a couple lanes of pressure and that's it. But she couldn't even roam bot because we had bot pushing. And then Ryze is ranged against Aurelia's melee, and if Aurelia misses her stun, Ryze can like play pretty freely. So also we got to counterpick the Aurelia with the Ryze, and we got to counterpick the Sejuani with the Trundle. So we had like a pushing, scaling, pushing, outscaling top. We ended up having a slightly better 2v2 because like Ryze is ranged and has all this like utility. We ended up with the pushing, scaling bot lane, so we outpushed them and outscaled them, and same with the Victor. The only thing was that like Trundle couldn't do anything against Sejuani. Like they had to win the game early. They had to like super win by like 10 minutes, and they didn't. They actually didn't do anything. Like Ray just played really good defense, and that was it. It was over. So they handed us that draft on a silver platter. It was quite an easy choice. Even though all week we've been preparing completely different comps, actually, we've been playing a lot of this side of it, actually. We've been playing a lot of the offensive side, but in this game they just like so this is our like this was the standard draft. This is pretty standard. Okay, so like, and then they pick Sejuani, and then what? Yeah, so then okay, so they pick the Draven. So we're like, okay, well, we'll pick Trundle here because we counter Sejuani. So we're like, okay, everything's pretty standard by now, like except for the Draven, which like now we get to counter their pull bot lane, or we get to counter their Draven, I guess. So like they could have picked support and not shown their AD carry, I guess, is what I'm saying. But instead they showed their AD carry, so we got to counter it. So then, but then they banned Kate Sivir. So I guess maybe that was their plan. Pick Draven and ban the stuff that's good against it, but they left up Ezreal. Whatever. Anyway, and we already had Lux, so it kind of doesn't even matter what they pick. And then we banned like just a random ban, I think, and then Akali, so that they couldn't do the Aurelia Akali flex, which was what we should have done this game. Like, we were supposed to ban Akali right there, and for some reason we banned frickin' I don't even know what, Varus and LeBlanc. Anyway, it was really dumb. Ah. And then they picked Nautilus Nico, which gave us essentially a free. We'd already countered the Aurelia, and then we got to counter the Nico, and the Nautilus was already countered by the fact that we first picked Lux, so Lux doesn't really have a counter that's left in this setup. And then they gave Draven less counter. I don't know. Anyway, yeah. Of course we're gonna pick those champions if they show this. It's not really any other way to steer that. And then for the FlyQuest game, I think I already went through it, but yeah, they gave us a free Lux first pick, walked right into our Aurelia counter, took Skarner against Sivir for some reason, I don't know. Picked Lucian with a Tom against Trundle Victor. So anyway, this is to explain that the team has been prepping very well their drafts, and we're not just like not playing the other champs. We're prepping lots of stuff during the week, and then teams are inting in draft and giving us like free wins if we pick right. So we're training properly, and then taking the best possible comp to win on stage, so that we're prepared, for pretty much anything. Yeah, so going back to this week, I wanted to go through a little bit of the game. CLG versus FlyQuest here. I don't know if you can see this or not. Let me double check. Yes, okay, you can. Good. Let's go here. Okay, so actually, not sure that I even care about this game. I can VOD review it in a different stream, so yeah, whatever. Anyway, that's the things that I wanted to cover in this Weldon's Weekly. What are the other topics I have here? The anti-Oriana thing. Okay, so I went over every pick. Of Ori this season. Vitriol versus criticism, right. So, what's more productive than this is this post. Instead of, he can't change the title, otherwise I'm sure he would have edited it, but he changed this from an attack to like a logic post. Okay? I don't know, you don't need this sentence, like, I don't know that this is necessary, but like, instead of being like super toxic and super vitriolic and super negative and not pretending as if Faker has not been solo killed by PoE on this champion and that he's being forced to pick it by coaching staff mistakes and that he's using it because he can use it to save games that CLG would otherwise lose, and that he was like trying to single-handedly carry the team last season when we had like 3 of the worst performers in the entire LCS partnered with him, like statistically, and he was like having to like take bad drafts because we had limited champion pools and like all these severe issues within the team, and he was like being handicapped by that and having to pick it because we were like waiting till last pick, and then they didn't give us a counterable mage. They would just pick like something that's super easy, like that can't be countered by any counter picks, and so like you end up saying, okay, well, we waited for a counter pick, maybe they would make a mistake, and then the coach didn't make a mistake, and then we ended up picking an Oriana. So like that happened like 2 or 3 times, I think. This whole last pick Oriana meme is really, really dumb. Like the reason you last pick Oriana is because you're last picking mid, because you're going to counter whatever they do. And then they don't pick a good champ. They pick just a standard champ. They pick like an uncounterable, safe mage mid or something. And then you're like, okay, so there's like nothing, like they're not doing something stupid, right? They're not doing something crazy, and they're not counterpicking you. So then, but the thing they picked is not counterable. That's why they banned the counters, right? Most good teams in the second banning phase will ban both counters to their mid lane champ and then pick a mid lane blind. And then you pick what's left, which is you pick the Oriana that has a 50-50 matchup into it, and you win the matchup because you have Tristan, Power of Evil, and then you play out the game with like a slightly advantaged pushing mid laner. Because they don't expose themselves to a nasty counter pick, which is pretty normal, I would say, from good drafts. You end up with a 50-50 mid lane matchup, unless they screw up. So those were the Ori picks this season. I just want to talk about that because I posted, obviously, that I would downvote this and that he's an anti-fan, which I don't think I meant anti-fan. What I meant was critical fan. Just like attacking a player because they tried to pick the best thing they could to salvage the game from a bad drafting situation and have to pick it in tons and tons of games that we are going to otherwise lose already, and we're trying to get a slightly less chance of losing. Yeah, Optic, I would not say Optic was a good team either. A lot of times in Optic, he was just trying to carry the team and being stuck in like really bad draft situations with a team that couldn't play with supportive mids like Zillion and like Galio and like Lissandra and all these great picks that like you can only play if you're Bergson because you have good players around you, but you can't play an Optic because he didn't, you know, because he had like random people who couldn't use them. So yeah, he's still a god on this champion, by the way. Yeah. So anyway, this is a better version of this heavily edited post, and I changed my thing to say from anti-fan to critical fan. So you're welcome. And I think it's my prerogative to call out. Like, I don't think the customer's always right. I don't think that I just have to sit here and take all the crap that you guys throw at my players. I'm the coach. If you insult my players, I can tell you to get out of my locker room. So, yeah, like, I don't have control over whether the players go on Reddit or not, and I'm going to try to make it a place where they don't have to open up Reddit and see their own fandom, like, calling them shit-ass players. So, I'm just going to downvote it, and I'm going to tell other people to downvote it if they want. Your prerogative to make it, and you can upvote Brigade if you want, but I think it's a dumb way to be a fan. And I wish that we had more like Froggen style fans who like, I believe in you. I hope that you can play like these cool meta champs. Keep working at it, and if you can't, like pick your cool cheese and like win the game and carry the team. Um, I think his fandom is really nice. I think that it's also like he doesn't handle it well, right? Like he gets really upset when he can't play standard, and I think that he has like a limitation there. But I don't think Tristan is like Froggen at all. I think Tristan is a very diverse, world-class player, just like all the rest of the people on our team. Just the same as Wiggly last split. You guys were nuts. You were criticizing like literally nothing has changed. Like in Wiggly's gameplay, he's still outthinking his opponent junglers. He's still out jungling them. He's still like calling the same stuff he's calling last, but the only difference now is he's like working 10 times harder as a team leader. He's just not taking no for an answer. He's just telling the team what he wants them to do instead of asking. He's just when like then when the laner forgets to call missing, he's calling the missing for them. When the laner says like, do this thing or whatever, he's like saying like, oh, by the way, did you hear that? Hey, did you hear that other laner? He was talking to you. And then the other says, what? Oh yeah, okay. And then he says like, okay, we're doing this play. And a minute later he's like, remember everybody, we're doing this play. Remember? And he's like holding everybody on a leash and like guiding them through the game. Literally the only thing that changed is like he's now forcing the team to play well with his comms, and otherwise he's doing the exact same stuff. And you guys are all like, oh, he was so crap and now he's so good. He's doing the same stuff in the game, to be honest. We're just able to draft around him now, and he's like forcing the leadership to happen, period. So, yeah, I have a problem with the criticism of Wiggly last split. I have a problem with the criticism of Tristan pretty much ever. Like, he's our mid laner, guys. Get over it. I have a problem with the criticism of Ruin's deaths, which I will go over in a separate video. I think you guys are weird if you think that teams being bad and killing him and losing the game because they kill him is like bad, like anything except them being bad, right? Like if we're playing as a team that's killing him and we get nothing for it, or like they're killing him on timers where they like get to freely kill him, that's one thing. But like these teams are just doing really bad plays. Like you didn't see C9 or TSM like killing I don't know, like just constantly. Okay, TSM, that's a lie. Sorry, TSM constantly overdives top. It's actually insane. Um, but that's with the Acadian mostly, not with the Greek. Anyway, you don't see like good teams like camping a single lane and then thinking that they're actually gonna win something, right? Like that's just dumb. Like he's just getting the same amount of farm, and then he dies and he's worth no gold, and he gets a chance for an outplay, and meanwhile we take the dragon and the bot turret. I don't know. There's a lot of these deaths that are really bad play from the opposing team, and it's really silly that they're even there. And so you walk to turret and you're like, okay, this is safe to be here. I can catch this wave. If they're here, they're actually inting the game. And then they dive and he's like, whoa, they're actually here. Okay, so I guess I die and we win the game. That's kind of funny. So anyway, that's most of the time what's happening with his death. So we'll go through every single death. I'm going to go through every single death he's had this season. Okay, I'm reading, oh, let me open up the Twitch chat window. Oh, I don't have Twitch chat on here? How do I show my Twitch chat? I had it in a different field. Anyway, I'm scrolling up Twitch chat right now. Weldon, how was interacting with the CLG Discord during the game? It was fine. It's fun. Actually, because they made a channel for the game, that was really cool. So I'm going to do that from now on when I can. I can't really answer Slime Star. I can't really answer non-league related questions right now because I'm doing this. So anyway, this is the current favorite pick for me. It's the Age of Wiggly. Wiggle, 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 wiggle. Oh, sadness. I think we're second place now. Anyway, thanks guys. I will see you tomorrow.